After a quick sell-off, we've hit a new all-time high on the S&P 500. Is this a sign of things to come? Good evening, my fellow Riz Elite members and all of our subscribers here on YouTube. Welcome to our Elite webinar. Now, if you haven't done so already and you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, get down there, hit that like and subscribe button, click the bell icon next to it to get notified every time we upload a new webinar here on the channel, because you're not going to want to miss anything this year because the market's going absolutely nuts. So what happened here? Pretty much looks like we were going to have a little bit of a double top situation here. However, we kind of came up to this 4,800 area, which had, been some pretty serious resistance for us, sold off from there into Wednesday, and then it was just risk off, buy everything mode going in towards the end of the week, so much so that the market jumped 1.23% on Friday, and we have a new all-time high for the S&P 500. I am pretty much in shock about this. I'm flabbergasted, for lack of a better term. This type of buying right now in this environment, absolutely nuts. But what is pushing this? It is mostly the semiconductor sector. We're getting a lot of big moves out of there. So all of their chip manufacturers and things like that are really pushing the market higher. A lot of your tech stocks, which we'll see here in just a second, really pushing the market up. And to kick it all off, we've got more earnings this week. So it's going to be a wild week, to say the least. But all I'm going to say is, man, this support and resistance line that I drew is freaking spectacular, because we darn near came down and touched it on Wednesday when we bounced back up. A lot of indecision there on Wednesday. Ended the day slightly green, and then Thursday, Friday, just massive rally in semiconductors that really pushed the market higher. So let's take a look here at that breakdown. As I promised, I'm going to keep it on the 1-year view here. Let me move myself out a little bit for just a second to show you this rally in tech. Just absolutely insane. Tech up over 56% in the last trading year. Followed closely by communications and consumer discretionary. S&P 500 is up almost 24% over the last year. We'll go to year to date here in just a second so you can kind of see the breakdown for this year. But we're definitely seeing a tick up here in financials. We had a lot of banks and financial sector, securities report earnings this week. And everything else pretty much stagnating for the most part. Healthcare trading sideways, consumer staples and real estate hanging right around the zero line, but, not doing too much. And actually energy and utilities taking a little bit of a dive here. Let's jump in the year to date. I know it's not as clean because we don't have as much data, but you can really see this rally in tech here that really shows up well when we see the year to date. So we see that massive push here since Wednesday, and that really lifted the market with it for the most part. Looking at, to date, obviously communications still over the S&P 500. S&P up 2% this year, almost 2.2. And healthcare and financials, again, just hanging out here on the zero line, and everything else is underperforming, not only the S&P 500, but below the zero line at this point. So I know this is a little messy. Obviously, once we get a few more weeks of data in here, we'll get a better picture, for lack of a better term. But you can clearly see this rally in tech fueled mostly by semiconductors that we saw towards the back half of the week. Let's just set that back on the 1-year view so we have that for later. And let's take a look at the asset classes. Now, we saw energy and utilities taking a little bit of a downturn, and oil is just stagnating. I find this very interesting considering everything that is going on in the Red Sea, the fact that, there were attacks on a U.S. tanker. Obviously, there have been conflicting reports over whether those attacks were successful or there was no damage. Regardless of whether, anything happened or not, the price of oil is just kind of hanging out here right in between 70 and 76. We have just been stuck there since, pretty much the beginning of December. After we saw this massive downturn since early September, we really have just come down into this channel here, and we are just stuck between 70 and 76 on oil. I will say that the price of the pump does not necessarily reflect that, at least not here where I am. But down in the comments, leave me a comment. Let me know what price of gas you're seeing, because I can tell you our prices are not stagnating. Our prices are going up per gallon, while the price per barrel of light crude is remaining relatively stable. After gold hit this all-time high here, just switching gears in, towards the end of December, we've definitely had a bit of a downturn. Let's move this over a little bit so we can see it easier. And we kind of came back up to this 2050 area, rejected pretty hard off of that, and still gold pretty overpriced. No position that we're looking at this point, but we're definitely seeing a little bit of a downturn in gold here, though this is looking a little bit like a head and shoulders pattern. You could pretty much draw any inverted bat pattern that you want and say that, yes, that's going to happen. But for the most part, gold, holding fairly stable for the most part, above the $2,000 per ounce area. So we'll keep an eye on that, but nothing really exciting to report there. Let's take a quick look here at the bond yields and the strength of the dollar. Bond yields, we did see that the 2-year came down beneath the 30-year last week, but moving into the close with that massive push on the S&P 500, the 2-year bonds are now slightly above the 30 years in terms of yield percentage, while the 10-year is still, probably the least attractive of the three. Looking at the dollar here, a nice big rally in the dollar since the end of December and in this year for the most part. So, we kind of pushed up here at the beginning of the year, held steady. We did a little bit of consolidation and made a nice leg up this week as the market decided to rally. So strength of the dollar seems to be holding pretty true to the market for the most part. When things go, awry in the world, where do people go? They go back to the world reserve currency, which is currently the US dollar. So no concerns there, but definitely interesting to see that nice rally in the dollar holding right above that 100 area. Let's take a look here at the breakdown for the economic dates this week, and then we will take a look at earnings, and I'll let you know what we're watching. GDP growth quarter on quarter is going to be reported here on Thursday, so that'll be an interesting one. I don't know if that's going to overshadow earnings, to be honest with you, and I think we all know that it won't. I think that earnings is going to be the major catalyst this week. And, we've got the core PCE price index and personal income and spending. That's great and all, but I suspect these will be a little bit higher, obviously, because of the Christmas season here. But for the most part, really no major dates that we need to keep an eye on this week other than earnings. So let's go ahead and take a look at the earnings calendar here, and I can let you know kind of what we are watching and what are some big names to be keeping an eye on. So a lot of airlines and tech is going to be reporting this week. So let's take a look at those. United, of course, is reporting here after the close. If anybody's in Hawaii and cares about it, Bank of Hawaii, a real big name out there, not really, reporting before the open on Monday. But for the most part, Monday is really not too big. We do have Logitech reporting here. I don't think that's going to be major, a major mover. And then a lot of banks here for the most part, not anything that we're too interested in. But things start to heat up on Tuesday when we start getting some bigger names coming out of the tech sector with Verizon, 3M, GE, all, some big names. Raytheon here in the defense sector. Same with Halliburton, Lockheed Martin. There's a lot going on Tuesday. We got Johnson & Johnson, which is one that we've traded in the past, Procter & Gamble, and then some other ones that no one really cares about. And then after the close, that's the big name right here. Netflix, right at the top, is going to be reporting, and that's pretty much all you need to keep an eye on unless you are in one of these other securities, but I can tell you that we are not. On Wednesday, we've got more big names, primarily AT&T in the morning before the open, and that's pretty much it. Abbott, a solid biopharma or biotech company, but still not really too anything interesting there. But then after the close, the real big name, Tesla. Tesla is going to be reporting after close on Wednesday. That'll be a big mover. IBM will be interesting to keep an eye on as well. And that's pretty much it for Thursday, for Wednesday. Thursday, we've got American Airlines reporting, a couple of other airlines as well. We've got Alaska, Southwest, and then, Dow Agro, another solid one in there, and then a couple of others that really don't make too much of a difference. After the close, Intel and Visa. Those are going to be some big movers as well to keep your eye on. If you have a position there, be aware of that. And that's pretty much it for the week. We got Amex on Friday, but there was one more. Oh, Colgate-Palmolive. That's a pretty solid company there that will be reporting. and definitely something to keep your eye on. But those are the big earnings this week that we're going to be keeping an eye on, the big companies that can definitely make some moves. And I did get a question sent to me by one of our members on Discord. So let me pull that up real quick. He said, hey, can you take a look at PayPal? Absolutely. Even though it's a dirty word here, we can take a look at it. And I said he wants to know what I think for a quick momentum trade. He said the 66 to 72 area is relatively low volume, probably due to the earnings gap down from August. And with current momentum, seems like the price may get there sometime next week. Yeah, if momentum like this continues, you're probably right. Not going to blindly enter. That's a good choice, but we'll do so based on price action this week. So obviously, this is one of those tech stocks that is really benefiting from this run up and is mostly a sympathy move. Let's be honest. There's really no reason why PayPal should be jumping up like this, other than the fact that other stocks in the tech sector are propping it up, for lack of a better term. So let's see. We've got earnings here at the beginning of February, so the 7th. So you've got plenty of time there. If this momentum in the market continues, I suspect that this will continue to rally, to be honest with you. PayPal has been beaten down and beaten down hard. This is one of the black sheep that we had held for some time, and we had to eventually cut it loose. But yeah, PayPal, a very interesting one, and really doesn't deserve to be sold off this hard, but it is what it is. Sometimes valuations don't make any sense. But yeah, I could definitely see this for a long play off of this momentum. If you are looking for something rather quick, if we continue to see this buying pressure on Monday, I have no doubt this will continue to run. So keep an eye on it. Of course, like you said, you're not going to just blindly go into it and buy it for no reason. So definitely keep your eyes on it. If it feels like a good entry for you and we have that momentum in the market, I can definitely see this continuing to go. So great question. Definitely a stock that we have, traded in the past. Probably won't trade anytime soon, but you never know with Riz, right, guys? Riz can always do some crazy stuff, out there. So definitely one to keep an eye on here. Let's see here. I'm not seeing any other questions from our people here tonight. So I really want to thank all of our members for coming out. It was great to have you all. I know Riz wanted to be here tonight, but had a few technical issues that he just couldn't make it. So I know he sends his best wishes for everybody. I would say the best thing you can do is just keep an eye on things. This buying pressure here is rather, let's just say, unwarranted, in my opinion. Now, I know what we're going to hear in the comments, right? We're going to have people saying, oh, well, you're always bearish. You're just taking a bearish stance, and we should be buying in, risk-free. Just go for it. Well, market turns over. Don't come crying to me. That's all I'm going to say. So this feels a little inflated. I think that, we can probably see a bit of a retracement this week, I suspect, especially if some of the big name earnings don't come out too hot. They will definitely affect the market. So keep your eyes peeled on that. Definitely keep an eye on those companies that we talked about earlier. And as always, we'll see you in the market on Monday.